So good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining us. My name's Steve Trotter. I'm Careers Hub Operations Lead for Hertfordshire Local Enterprise Partnership, and I oversee the Careers and Enterprise contract here in Hertfordshire alongside Gareth Dace. Thank you very much for joining us. And today we're going to be focusing on Gatsby Benchmark 5, encounters with employers and employees, and Gatsby Benchmark 6, work experience. And we've got some brilliant guest speakers lined up for you today. So in a moment, I'm going to start off by talking a little bit about the Gatsby benchmarks themselves and give you some hints and tips on how to meet them. Then really excited to have Sam Sullivan from Tesco here talking a little bit about how Tesco supports schools and colleges in Hertfordshire and a bit wider nationally, looking at their work experience, virtual work experience and things like that. Then we'll have Morgan Sindall joining us to talk a little bit around virtual work experience and how that can lead on to face-to-face and how they recruit 70% of their employees through work experience. We're really pleased to have Paul Diamond and Tom Lathenby to talk to us from People on Work around alumni. And then David Hoskins from Services for Young People will also be talking to us. And then as we move through the afternoon, we will go on to talking to some careers leaders, Colleen Osborne from Rivers Education Support Centre and Jill Blair Park from Leaventhorpe around how they have done Gatsby Benchmark 5 and 6 really well with some good examples. So the main aims of today's session, careers leaders and EAs will gain a better understanding of Gatsby Benchmark 5 and 6. Careers leaders and enterprise advisors will hear from employers on how they engage with schools and colleges through encounters and work experience. And hopefully you will leave today with some examples of how to inform your own practice. For those that are new to role, either careers leader or enterprise advisor, and we've got a few of those on the call today, thanks for joining us. Just to give you a really quick insight into Hertfordshire Careers Hub, we work as a group of schools, colleges, special schools and education support centres, as well as with providers to improve best practice together. And today's workshop is exactly about that, really. We inspire young people into the fast changing world of work, and we try and strengthen the links between education and employment, back the Gatsby benchmarks and raise the aspirations among young people here in Hertfordshire and help each of them find their next best step, whatever that may be. And our role is to build networks, support the careers leaders in the schools, colleges and education support centres and back those Gatsby benchmarks. So today's workshop is around Gatsby Benchmark 5, encounters with employers and employees, and Gatsby Benchmark 6, experiences of the workplace. So I'm going to go through those in a little bit more detail and then start handing over to some of the guest speakers. So when it comes to Gatsby Benchmark 5, encounters with employers and employees, we're looking for every student to have multiple opportunities to learn from employers about work, employment and skills in the workplace. From every year they're in secondary school, from the age of 11, we're looking for them to have a meaningful encounter with an employer. And every year alongside their study in college, they're looking in an ideal world for 2 meaningful encounters to happen at college. Colleges should also record any of their students doing part-time work as well. What is a meaningful encounter? Well, it's one that has the opportunity to learn about what the world of work is like and how you can be successful in the workplace. And this really does raise attainment, motivation and aspirations. So it's definitely really worthwhile. We know how difficult this has been over the last couple of COVID years. Gatsby Benchmark 5, we're looking for activities to happen in each year group. So say in year 7, then in year 8, 9, 10, 11. And then if you have a sixth form, for example, also in year 12 and in year 13. To be able to hit or meet the benchmark, you need to be hitting the overwhelming majority or all of students participating. And in an ideal world, that would then mean that there'd be between 5 and 7 encounters happening with employers whilst a student is in school, for example. We'd love it if you're using maybe 7 to 10 businesses or 10 plus businesses involved in these activities throughout your school or college whole programme. So just on work experience alone, I'd imagine that most schools would be working with 10 plus employees anyway. To give you a bit of a snapshot of Hertfordshire at the moment, this is happening in 77% of mainstream schools and around 83% of special educational needs schools. But what we think is there needs to be a little bit more around the tracking of it. So the evidence basing of it using things like Unifrog, Compass Plus or Excel, just to be kind of, and some case studies and real life examples of things that are happening and going on. When it comes to Gatsby Benchmark 6, we're looking for every student to have first-hand experience of the workplace through things like work visits, work shadowing, or work experience. By the age of 16, they should have had one of those experiences, and that would be additional to a part-time job they have. And again, by the age of 18, that they should have another example. So typically in Hertfordshire, a lot of this happens a year 10 placement and maybe a year 12 placement as an example. And this gives the opportunity for the students to really grow their social capital and build some of those essential skills. And we really love it when employers and schools and colleges use things like the Hertfordshire Skills Framework to help with that, or Skills Builder. And I'll come on to a bit more of that a little bit later in the discussions. Gatsby Benchmark 6 analysis. Again, it's what proportion of your students have had an opportunity before the end of year 11, and again at the end of year 13, if you have that age group in your education establishment. And in Hertfordshire, roughly at the moment, we've got about 74% of students are having an experience of the workplace before the end of year 11, and around 81% for those that are eligible have had a further work placement by the end of year 13 or 12. So again, on this one, we're looking for the overwhelming majority or all to have done this. And once again, looking more at Compass Plus and Unifrog to help you track that. And then a little bit more interesting and exciting as things are opening up a little bit, getting out and getting photos and case studies of work experience, employer visits or employers coming in to do talks and things like that. So I'm going to go through some examples of different activities and then sort of maybe bring that a little bit more into today's day and age around that kind of blended approach or hybrid model that a lot of us are working to now. So these activities, this is not an all-inclusive list, but this is just bringing to highlight, this isn't just work experience, there's other ideas that you can bring into the fold here. So you've got work experience and work shadowing, block placements of the sort of traditional week or 2 weeks, or even longer extended work experience that could be a day over a whole academic year, for example, for some particular students. Hopefully everyone is starting to move towards a hybrid model, but today's workshop, we're trying to get people to start thinking next year of maybe heading in that hybrid model direction. So that could be a mixture of visits and talks in school, maybe some visits and talks outside of school, some work experience or some virtual work experience kind of mixed together so that work experience can go ahead next academic year, but in that slightly more hybrid model. So yeah, things like employer visits and tours, careers talks and fairs, building in that virtual program. A lot has obviously happened virtually during COVID, but then bringing in the sort of the better parts of that into where we are now. So virtual work experience that's maybe got a project assigned to it. And Morgan Sindel, who are coming on a little bit later on, will be chatting about that. And Tesco's as well will be talking about virtual work experience. Virtual careers fairs as well as face-to-face ones. Mock interviews. A lot of interviews now are online over things like Zoom and MS Teams. So again, giving students the opportunity to maybe have a mock interview that is either face-to-face or online, equally useful. And virtual assessment centres as well as actual assessment centres as well. Enterprise competitions is something that can be really, really engaging. Year 7, year 8 and year 9, where it's sometimes a little bit harder to get things into the careers programme. But this time of the academic year, sometimes it opens up a little bit more between now and the end of July to get some enterprise competitions going. We're in talks with a couple of organisations looking to run some activities around entrepreneurship for year 7, 8 and 9. Computer Centre are looking at maybe running some sustainability enterprise competitions over the next couple of years here in Hertfordshire. And HOP, and I'll come on to this a little bit later on, Hertfordshire Opportunities Portal HOP are going to be releasing a year 12 competition that's focusing on social media and TikTok and Instagram Reels around promoting HOP. So that's going to be a competition that we'll be looking for sort of year 12 students particularly to enter, which would be great and something really good to go on the CV and personal statement. People on work who are on the call today and are going to be presenting a little bit later do some great inspiration work around alumni. So that would be around engaging alumni over great little insight videos, but then maybe growing that relationship into them giving back to the careers programme and doing other things, perhaps an in-person talk or bringing some students into their workplace for a visit or for work experience. Mock interviews and mock assessment centres. There's a number of schools in Hertfordshire who are starting to do this or have done it for a number of years, but that kind of hybrid model of some of it being virtual, some of it being face-to-face is fantastic. And we've got a number of schools that do this really well. We've had a recent apprenticeship survey go out to parents and to teachers, and we've found that when it comes to giving out careers support, 9 out of 10 teachers give careers advice to students, but there's around 80% feel really confident around the UCAS system, but that drops down to 26% when it comes to apprenticeships currently. So we want to do some work on that over the next academic year, and it'd be great to get some mock assessment centres, some teacher CPD around apprenticeships and some parent CPD would be brilliant. And one of our guest speakers later, Colleen Osborne from Rivers ESC, has done some great speed dating networking sessions with her enterprise advisor to engage students, inspire students, and then also reduce their anxiety ahead of going out on work experience the following week. And that's been really useful. And then we've got a number of organisations, but Hertfordshire Opportunities Portal have got the opportunity for 15 schools to get involved in some workshops around apprenticeships, LinkedIn building and mock interviews. So lots of different things to look out for, but all of this really do help students to develop their confidence, learn a little bit about the labour market, career opportunities, switch them on or switch them off to something. The last thing you want is for a student to have gone through school and not had much employer engagement, hadn't been on work experience, and go off to university and spend £60,000 on something to then come out and find that they don't like it. We want those opportunities for them to develop and try things on the lead up to when they transition to their next part of their career or their education journey. So some of the main reasons why we do some of the activities that I've just talked about are to have a stable and progressive careers programme. So these are some of the main aims and some of the main whys as to why we do these things. So it can give that student that sense check around what are their main interests, what are their main ideas, raise their awareness, help challenge gender stereotypes, find out about the labour market information. There's evidence to show if they have 4 interactions with an employer, they're a lot less likely to become NEET, 86, 87% less likely to become not unemployed. This can raise their aspiration, raise motivation and attainment, develop practical skills, give them things to put on their CV and get that real life experience. And it can then lead on to that part-time work, an apprenticeship or graduate programme. So we're all about raising their aspirations, increasing their motivation. So that kind of that carrot dangling, why do I need to do maths, why do I need to do English? And then it's that carrot to raise their attainment to help them get to their next best step. We're also really looking at these activities in a way where it's planning for impact and making it meaningful. So it's about preparing for what it is they're about to do, reflecting on it, and then evaluating as well. So virtual work experience or actual work experience include a tour of the premises, meet people from HR and early talent while they're there for the week or for the day. Find out about people's careers journeys when they're talking to people in different departments, or arrange a little speed networking session. Get someone along who's maybe been an apprentice, get someone along who's maybe been a graduate. When we've done the research recently around apprenticeships, we found that students want to hear from the apprentice and parents want to hear from the employer. So in this instance, get some apprentices to have a conversation with the person that's come in to do a visit or some work experience. and then go through the different pathways. What's the graduate programme? What is the apprenticeship programme? When you really do make it meaningful and you prep, reflect and evaluate, you can have the most impact and make the most difference to the students involved. Then when it comes to the evaluation stage, it's great to have evaluations done from the employer side and from the student side. Some employers are happy to give a reference to the student, which is really important. If someone's on extended work experience, sometimes they can gain an employability qualification, which is amazing. And we also want to find out and learn things for the next academic year. What could be done differently, better? Could there be a project set? Could they present back to the employer at the end of the week or the end of the insight? Could they do a diary? Could they maybe look at either Skills Builder or Hertfordshire Skills Framework before they go and then go back to it afterwards? Have they developed any teamwork skills? Have they developed some problem solving skills, etc., etc.? So they can get a lot from this opportunity. And we know so many employers do want to help and so many schools do want to send students out, but it's maybe just looking away from that 1 week now and looking at other opportunities of that blended hybrid model. So wherever you can, prepare students for assembly and tutor time. I know loads of you are doing this already and doing it really well. Give the students that project. Try and have as much two-way interaction as you can, if it's face-to-face or virtual. I get that opportunity to draw questions out from the student or the young person. Think about which activities you think would work best with your students. Try and get alumni involved if you can, or even look to your parents as well as another opportunity. And are you doing anything extra for some of the additional needs groups? So are you running anything extra for free school meal or pupil premium students, care leavers, for example, to inspire them? If you haven't got a coach or an opportunity to take the whole year group to something, is there a smaller group where you could do something with that? And they're the kinds of things that Ofsted are really interested in, and that storytelling around how it's helped those students in particular. And we've got some really great employers based here in Hertfordshire, and people like Morgan Sindall, Tesco's, etc., really do help. Tesco's do a lot of work with special needs students, and Morgan Sindall have been doing some great work with a local school around a non-attender educated at home students. So it really can have some impact with these activities. Moving forward, any employers on the call, we're a bit of a split between employers and schools and colleges today. We're going to be looking from September at some employer standards to make things as impactful as possible, a little bit like Gatsby for employers. So with the activities that you're all doing really well already, it's kind of framing them in the future. So inspiring young people to help them find their next best step, preparing them to be career ready and collaborating for success. So if we were taking work experience, for example, and using some of the standards on the right-hand side, you can make it meaningful by setting a project and doing an assembly or a visit beforehand, being inclusive, invite special students along, help students build into that opportunity things like applications and being aware of the different pathways, and then engage over time. Morgan Sindall, for example, on the call are really key to get the most enthusiastic students into face-to-face from their virtual and then on to apprenticeships afterwards if they're interested. So you can have a lot of impact, and it's just thinking about bringing some of these aims into what you do over the next few years, making things a little bit more of a hybrid approach as we move forward, so that some things are in school, some things are out at employers, some things are for work experience, but also bringing in organisations like Services for Young People, ELSA and other organisations to do things with some of the students that haven't got homework experience. If you're sort of scratching your head and thinking a little bit around who could you use for things in the future, you're going to hear from Services for Young People a little bit later and People on Work. But you've also got Inspiring the Future. Speakers for Schools have sorted their website out recently so that it does filter with what's going on in what industries and in what weeks. So if you have got a few students that don't get out on work experience, you can now look a bit easier and find out, say, what's running next week, the week after, the beginning of July, etc. People on Work are going to talk to us about alumni very soon. And that's great, a great way to get some buy-in and that kind of approach where a student is hearing from someone that was sat where they were not so long ago is really identifiable, and it also really does inspire them. So you've heard enough from me. I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and Sam from Tesco's, if you're available, I would love you to come off mute and share your screen, and then we'll come to Helen and Norma after Sam. Hi, Sam.
Hello. Hello. Sorry, I've just had to duck out from a Generation Broxbourne event, so I'm just on a small computer here, so I haven't got the slides. Are you able to share them
Yeah, no
for me?
problem at all.
Is that okay?
Yeah,
and then I'll be dashing back to the careers event, so a bit of multitasking going on today.
I'm very impressed. And if you hadn't said anything, we probably wouldn't have even noticed.
A hot and bothered, flustered look. So thanks, everybody. So yeah, I'm Sam Sullivan from Tesco, one of the cornerstone employers, and also an EA at Barnwell School. So I know we've got the wonderful Martin on the call today that I work really closely with, who's the careers leader at Barnwell. So really just sort of sharing with you some of the work that Martin and I have been doing around sort of Gatsby 5 and 6, the plans that we've got in place with Barnwell, but obviously on a wider scale of what we do. And Norma and I from Morgan we've worked closely together on things as well. We work on the same campus. So the lovely young student that Norma's supporting, I met her on Monday just to give her a bit of an insight into Tesco and all the different careers that we do. So something really important that Norma and I want to do, and also with Computer Centre, we're doing some work experience, how we can really work together as employers and help the local schools. But what we've been doing at Barnwell, first of all, it's really important for us to understand what the head of faculty, what they needed when it comes to employer engagement to make sure it is meaningful. So we met with all the different heads of faculty to understand, so what do you need in business, maths, food technology, and so forth. And from that, we've been able to then build either, is it a careers talk, is it a lesson plan, is it a visit to our campus? So if I take food technology as an example, from that they had a lesson all around like sensory evaluation and how you develop a product. So we got one of our cheese product developers to come in and talk to them about her role, and actually using that whole linking the curriculum and the career, we could actually bring that lesson to life. So we did 2 lessons with the students, and from that in the new academic year, they will then come into our head office to work with some of our development chefs and then sort of carry on that journey, or if it's a visit to our store. And we will continue to do that things in computer science. So we've done things on club card data, and now then we'll be looking at algorithms and also like how to manage social media, again linking it into the curriculum, but we will have employers coming into the school to deliver those lessons. And again, what Steve really touched on is really making sure that we use those skill builders, we embed skills in everything we do. So if it is work experience, if it's a visit to our offices or stores, we always talk about those really vital skills. And then for year 9 students in round about October, we're going to have a 1-day event for them where again it's that sort of that carousel, that speed dating of different activities. So we'll be looking at mock interviews, CVs, again different employability skills workshops for those year 9 students. Next slide, please. We're also supporting the Effective Transition programme. So just over a week's time, we've got 12 students from Onslow St Audrey coming on campus. So again, taking that model that we know that works is having that tour of our campus so they can really understand all the different jobs behind the scenes at Tesco. So sort of dispelling the myth and that sort of stereotype that it's not just jobs in a supermarket. They will get to meet lots of other employers and colleagues, and then they will also get to work with our development chefs. So we will set them a project to work on. It will be a real life business example. They have to create a healthy meal on a budget for a family. We know that the cost of living is going up, so how can we make them think about healthy alternatives to their meal? Managing a budget, they're going to have to then present back, use their problem solving, team and communication skills, and then they will get to eat their lunch as well, and that will be judged by a panel of judges at Tesco. And as Steve said, we are doing a lot more to support the special needs schools. So we visited Nightfield School recently, and they will be coming to join our F&F clothing team in the new academic year. And they will spend a half day on campus, again with a tour, and then working on a project looking at merchandising. And then we've got Lakeside School. They're coming in to see us on the 11th of September. And these students have very complex needs. So we know a lot of them won't be able to go on to work, but it's still really important to develop those those life skills. So again, they will come and visit our campus and work with our chefs to create their own pizza. So small steps to help them that they can become independent, to make their own snacks and so forth when they leave education. And some of those students, we're lining up work experience at our Hatfield store for them. So some of the things that we've got coming up that's available not just to Barmard but to other schools, we're doing a lot more around the Gatsby 4, so linking the curriculum and careers. So there's going to be new lesson plans on science, design technology and food technology. There's about 8 different new lesson plans coming out, and they will launch in September, and they will be available on HOP. And then virtual work experience. At the end of the presentation, we can share the slide. We've got our finance, technology and marketing work experience insight days coming up in June and July. And then we've got 2 interview and CV skills workshops. They're run by our resourcing team. So they're the people behind the scenes, are looking at the CVs, the applications every day, setting up the interview. So it's a really great workshop because you're speaking to those experts in the industry that can really give them those great hints and tips. And then face-to-face work experience. We've had some students that have joined our virtual work experience program, and now they've come into our office to do some face-to-face. We've got somebody working in our tech team, in our F&F team, in our product team as well. And for all schools, we do offer work experience in our schools, in our stores, and that's from the age of 15. So if you need work experience in store, you can either contact myself and I can put you in contact with the store, or you can contact the store directly. And then it's all about the different career workshops that we're doing as well. So we do deliver employability skills workshops, so we can offer those 6 times a year. So if you're interested in those, we do things like supply chain. We've just been into Bishop's Hatfield Girls' School just last week, delivered to all of their year 7s to about 150 students. So we did a food love story workshop with them, and again they had to develop their own food love story, come up with all the marketing campaign and then presenting back, and there's some really great projects that came out of that session. So that's something that we can offer. We're getting more of our grads to go out as well and deliver workshops, so if that's something you're interested in, we're happy to support that. And we've also got our supply chain team. They're looking for a school for like year 7 or 8 to do like a 2-hour workshop on supply chain as well. It's something new that they've developed, and they're keen to get involved with some local schools. So if you're interested in that, please let me know.
And you've come direct from a careers fair today, Sam. So the careers fair support, big tick next to that.
Big tick, yeah. I'll be going back there. And then just Steve mentioned about that hybrid work experience. So Martin and I are exploring the idea of what would work experience look like for year 10 students next year. So really having a look at that blended approach where we can offer a 2 or 3 in-person work experience. It's incredibly difficult for schools to find, hundreds of students a whole week's work experience. Not many companies will offer a whole week, say if it is in an office, because of, we work very differently now. So how can we sort of support students to look at just a few days of work experience and then bringing it back into the classroom by having different career talks from different industries and then running those vital employability workshops. So that's an idea that Martin and I are working on and something that we hope to sort of bring to life next year.
Brilliant.
And that's just our virtual work experience link, so we can share with you. The technology one has now closed, but the other ones, they're all up and running.
I'd just like to say a big thank you, Sam, for everything that you've helped us with this academic year, including doing Generation Broxbourne today and this both on the same day. And big thank you to you. And if anyone wants to ask Sam anything in particular, please either sort of message in the chat or get in contact with Sam. We'll share sort of details tomorrow and next week when it comes to the slides and things like that. But thank you very much, Sam. We're going to now hand over to Helen Clements and Norma from Morgan Sindall. And guys, if you're happy to share your screen, or I can share these ones if you need me to.
Let me see if I can share. Make sure. Okay. Hopefully my slides will come up. Are they showing? Oh.
Yeah, it's just in the sort of the slide mode rather than.
Yeah, I'm trying to get it to, there we go.
Yeah, yeah.
There we go. All right, so I'm Helen Clements from Morgan Sindall Construction. I'm a social value manager, so a number of you will know Norma. I do the same role as Norma, but I do mine in the east of England, so I cover Suffolk, Norfolk, Essex and Cambridgeshire. So Norma will be your point of contact. So I've been asked to talk about work experience, and in particular virtual work experience. So I just wanted to sort of set the scene really as to why we do this. Our industry has got a big challenge, like all other sectors. We're all looking for the same pool of people. Our sector is not necessarily seen as one to go into, particularly from a diversity point of view. Ethnicity is really low. Women sits at 13%, and in technical roles that's only 6%, and on the tools that is less than 1%. And there's some research out there that shows that 35% of career advisors actively recommend people not to look at our industry, as it's not an attractive opportunity. So part of the reason we do all our outreach is to try and change that opinion. So we have a programme not dissimilar to what Tesco's have been talking about, that has these touch points at different stages. And we're going to look at that virtual work experience stage because we see that as the pinnacle, and that really drives being part of our talent pipeline. So our virtual work experience actually was born out of our traditional project week. So we've always done project focused weeks where we'd have teams of 10 students come into the offices. They'd be split into 2 teams. They'd have a meeting room. They'd meet experts. They'd go out on a site visit. Each person in the team will have a job role with a task to achieve, and then there's a CV and interview technique workshop as part of it, and there's ongoing employability conversations throughout their whole week. And then on the Friday they present back their project to us, and all we've done is move that to a virtual platform. Nothing has changed other than how it's delivered. So they still go on a site tour. It's just a virtual site tour. They still do the CV and interview technique workshop. They still meet all of the experts. And the benefits for all of us on this are, the biggest difference has been the amount of access to students. So in the east of England, you know, normally we'd see, well, we delivered to 120 people in 18 months compared to 60 as if we'd have done that in person. So you can see it's quite, you know, it's double the amount, and actually some weeks are growing to even more than that. This is the bit that people don't really understand unless they're part of the week, but we're actually finding it's a richer experience. So if I had students in person in the office, in their teams, if I'm lucky, on the first day, out of those 10 students, 3 will ask questions. By midweek, we might be up to 50% asking questions. And by the end of the week, we're probably at 80%, with the other 2 perhaps asking the odd thing, but still not got that same confidence levels. What we're finding using a virtual delivery platform, they feel anonymized and they love the chat function. And so we're getting, one, we have more students at a time. So for example, earlier this year, our February cohort, we had 75 young people on it. And of that 75, 60 would be asking questions at least. So therefore, students are getting more information because there's more questions being asked. And therefore, their confidence and their knowledge really improves. We move it on to in-person placements afterwards, so that we see it as a sifting mechanism. So those students that really engage with the programme, that shine, we try and stay in tabs with them and encourage them to go and do in-person placements. And we have had a number of them do that. Of which some have gone on to the 45-day industrial placements for the T-levels. I've already mentioned the improved confidence. It's pleasure to watch from a Monday through to a Friday, the difference in their confidence levels. They really just absolutely blossom. and what they achieve in 5 days that our industry delivers through years worth of training and knowledge is absolutely amazing. And our experts who watch the presentations on a Friday are always completely wowed, because between me and you, internally, people don't have necessarily that higher expectation about the students' knowledge and what they can do in 5 days, and they smash it out of the water every single time. Furthermore, it develops the skills we're looking for. And 3 students. So in fact, that's actually now changed because we've just delivered some more apprenticeships this year. So I think at least another 3 students. So I think we're definitely up to 6 students that I'm aware of have gone on and into apprenticeships directly off our virtual work experience because of the skills they're learning. So they're learning how to communicate, how to do teamwork, how to do problem solving, how to aim high, how to negotiate digital, because that is the world they're coming into. Very few people will have a non-digital world of work nowadays, and a lot of them will have a blend, and this really helps prepare them for that. It improved the applications again. So in the east of England, we were aware of at least 7 students that applied for our apprenticeships, and 2 of them have gone on to secure it as well. Yep, so that's everything. Okay, so the biggest purpose of our work experience when we introduced it back in 2018 was to change diversity. So in the east of England, we have managed to, as you can see, really improve the amount of people in terms of gender that are joining our sector. And it's because we're improving the amount that go into work experience. So we find the more women that go into work experience with us, the more applications from women we get, and then the more likely they are to be successful. So this isn't us cherry picking, oh, we want a woman and we want a boy. This is us cherry picking the best of the bunch, and the best of the bunch, because we're having more women, means that we're having those opportunities. And we're also improving ethnicity. The industry sits at about 9%, and as you can see, we've done really well at achieving 33% the last 2 years. I think that drops again this year, unfortunately. So hopefully now I just want to show you what the outcomes look like.
Hi, my name's Lucy Gresham-Hill and I'm an apprentice site manager for Morgan Sindall.
Hi, my name's Bradley McLaughlin. I'm an apprentice QS for Morgan Sindall.
I'm Holly Satchel. I'm an apprentice site manager for Morgan Sindall.
Hi, my name is Fraser Lemon and I'm a quantity surveyor at Morgan Sindall.
So I joined in September of 2019.
September 2019.
September 2019.
September 2019.
And as you can probably see, I am on the Norwich Castle project.
The project I'm working on at the moment is Trinity College.
Currently I am working at Wyndham Prep School and helping out at the Norwich Museum.
I've currently been on the Bridge School in Ipswich, which is a SEND school, a special educational needs and disability school.
I feel really honoured to be a part of this project. It's the biggest of the heritage projects in the UK right now, which is obviously really exciting. Something a little bit different to be involved with, so I feel, as I say, really honoured to be on it. The rotation process has been especially good, so I've just started my quantity surveying rotation.
With Morgan Sindall you have to do a rotation scheme, and the rotations that you have to do on a 6-month basis are quantity surveying, site management, estimating, design management, engineering and planning.
I'm currently doing my design management rotation, working with a senior design manager and learning the role.
I have learned a lot. I've had a few achievements.
I've completed my quantity surveying rotation and my site management rotation.
I get to learn different roles within construction and understand what they do and how they work together.
It's really beneficial to do it because there are so many people that make up a project team, and if you can appreciate what others do, it makes the team gel a lot more.
And I think this is a really good way to get an insight into the company and what everyone does to complete a project, really.
My experience at the moment with Morgan Sindall has been very accommodating.
I feel I've been given more responsibility, and this is improve my confidence.
The site team and well, all of the people with Morgan Sindall, the subcontractors, they're all so welcoming.
Really supportive. I've really enjoyed uni. Obviously it's been tricky with COVID and that kind of thing, but it's been seamless.
And I've really enjoyed my time and really been impressed with Morgan Sindall.
Really enjoying my apprenticeship.
I have enjoyed every second of Morgan Sindall, and I definitely recommend an apprenticeship with them.
It's just been really welcoming.
I have absolutely loved my first year.
I felt that's a really good way to start your career and learning.
So thank you for coming along on the journey for the last year. It's really exciting. I've got 4 years left until I'm qualified, and I am so excited to keep learning. So thanks guys.
So, is it going to go on to the next slide? Yes. Okay. So what I wanted to talk to you about now was we have a current opportunity. Closing date for this is the 20th of July. June even, it'll have been and gone by the 20th of July. For the 20th of June, we actually have another opportunity as well that's for the same week. So this week is for participants. It's got a green focus, and we're looking for students that are interested to do a virtual work experience and find out more about the industry and how we can reduce the impact on carbon for the world. And the other option we have is facilitators to help with this week. So we're looking again for students year 11 and above for that. So Norma will share those with you so that you can access them. So thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Helen. Oh, sorry, Steve.
Yeah, over to you, Norma. Thank you. Thanks, Helen.
Thanks, Helen. And I'm sure a lot of you wondering, why have we got Helen on? Well, Helen's our expert on our virtual work experience. I joined Morgan Sindall just about a year ago, and I work across Herts, Beds, Bucks and North London. So I work very closely with Helen, supporting the virtual programme that we roll out nationally. And just to bring sort of a local spin on what has been happening and Morgan Sindall been doing while I've been in post, yes, for our virtual work experience, for the green one alone, I believe we've got something like 65 students from the Herts area already signed up to take part of that. Okay, and that is fantastic because these are students that I also I'm part of the EA for that school, so I've been promoting it within that school for the last year, and they've actually found a date that fits in with them. And part of that program, which I think Helen's kind of omitted, which is great, they will be taking part in the first rollout of our carbon literacy program. So that will mean they will get a certificate to say they are ambassadors for us with regards to carbon and understand that whole process a lot more. So it's going to be a fantastic opportunity for everybody. So some of the other bits as well, I am an EA for a couple of schools. So I've seen Leslie on here. So Leslie, that's Fernhill, Ridgeway and Noble. I've got actually one of my commercial directors involved in being a local enterprise advisor. So we are expanding our reach within the local area. And the kind of things that we've been involved with is actually, we have done some careers events, carousels with Leslie recently, which was pulled together very quickly with Debbie's support. And we did that in partnership with Tesco's, as Sam mentioned earlier. We are looking to work a lot more collaboratively with Tesco's because we both share the same sort of park that we work on at Shire Park in Welwyn Garden City. We also do host site visits. We're part of the transition funding initiative and hope to host ours early July visit from Monk's Walk School. So that's already in place. And then we have worked very closely with Bishop's Hatfield Girls School, where we've done a actual day's event with them. And now we are actually looking to host 3 work experiences face to face. So a lot of our initiatives, I think very much what Helen said, we like to do that big bang kind of bit of an initiative, and then we actually do a follow-up. We don't like to do just one intervention. We like to actually grow the journey for individuals that really want to enter the sector or have heard something that sort of has inspired them to go along. And I can see that David's on the call as well, and I'm working very closely with David as well on his project. So in the Herts area, Morgan Sindall are very well kind of represented. I'm in Bucks today, but I did a careers event in Bucks as well. So we do support mock interviews, site visits, talks, anything that is possible. And I know in the Herts area, I am looking to also support a T-level student. We have actually in the Bucks area, following on from one of our virtual work experiences, taken on a T-level student who attended the virtual program and then actually has had an interview with the project manager face to face. So it's not a given, you go through the whole process of actually, okay, I need to do some research, going through that journey, and now has started his T-level industry placement for those 315 hours. So we are very adaptable, and I'm sure Stephen will share the flyers. I think you've got them, Stephen, but I am here to support students going forward with different ideas and initiatives. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thanks very much to Helen and to Norma. I really appreciate your time. And Paul and Tom, we're going to hand over to People on Work to talk a little bit around alumni work. Hi, Paul. Hi, Tom. Over to you guys. Nice to see you.
Thanks, Steve. Okay. I'm just going to share my screen. Paul, can you just confirm that you can see that?
Yeah, I can see it.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name's Tom, and I'm joined today by my colleague Paul. We are the founders of People on Work. This is our second time speaking with Steve and his colleagues across Hertfordshire. So hopefully this might not be new for some of you, but hopefully it is for others. And we are presenting today to talk a little bit about how we believe People on Work can really help you guys deliver fantastic experience, work towards hitting all the marks for Gatsby 5 and 6. So where we think that across Gatsby 5 and encounters with employers and employees, and then across Gatsby 6 and experiences of workplaces, People on Work showcases, we've got I think, Paul, are we up to about 200?
Yeah, at the moment about 250 videos. So individual videos, we'll come on to those, but what we're offering in support of achieving Gatsby 5 and 6, and Steve mentioned it in his intro about activating alumni, schools alumni, company alumni as well. But these are the kind of things that we were thinking when, with 5 and 6, what we can offer: interviews across industry sectors, the ability to individualize those interviews with different people doing all different kinds of things across all sectors, individualize those to schools and regions through alumni networks and also local and regional networks, a bit like this today. And the other part of what we're doing is it's absolutely free to schools for the life of the resource. Yeah,
the content is all available through YouTube, and what for children, for students in particular, it means they can access the content at any time of day or night. When they're sat on the bus on their phones, they can dip in and out and watch a 3-minute video about a particular sort of kind of work. And what our films do, they're not driving information, they're driving career discovery, because the world of work changes every day, and all too often people's career choices are influenced very heavily by their social circles, by their parents, and they don't understand the full context of what industry in Britain is really about. Here you can see, talking about industries, we group all the content that we have into industry playlists. Those of you that are familiar with YouTube, a channel, People on Work is a channel within YouTube, but then the channel is broken down into various playlists. So here you can see in the top left an entire channel dedicated to business, finance and law. So these are people that work in that in those sorts of industries. We have an environment and science playlist, and from specific, on the right hand side here you can see 2 particular organizations that we have conducted a number of interviews from throughout their organization. So one was for Chelmsford City Council, a policy, and they ran a series called Love Your Chelmsford, focusing on green careers and environmental work within the city. And here you can see one in the bottom right for New Covent Garden Market. So that's the fruit and veg market in South London that, particularly through COVID, did an amazing job, really stepped up to feed London when the supermarkets' shelves were looking a bit empty. Oh, there we go. So this, I've just jumped across to the People and Work channel. So this is sort of live in real time. And you can see how the content's organised. And what we'd really love is for schools in Hertfordshire to sort of to get involved and to create a playlist for their own alumni networks. Now that sounds like a lot of work, but actually, through the website, and I'll we've got a pro forma, an example text that you can email out to your alumni. People can either interview themselves with their phones. They can get in touch with us and we'll do an interview with them over Zoom. You as careers leads that want to develop relationships with alumni, perhaps they work in a company that you want to get a toe in the door for work experience, for instance. You could carry out interviews themselves. Every interview follows the same format. It's our 3 golden questions of what do you like about your work? How did you first get started? And what would you say to someone starting out today? So like I said, they're questions they're positive questions. They're there to inspire career choice amongst young people. So here you can see we have schools and colleges with various Glossop School here. We've got 7 respondents on their list. Reading School here, which is where I went to school, has got 10 on it. So there's, YouTube is endless. We can put an unlimited number of schools on the platform. Through industries, you can see various playlists here on hospitality and leisure. We've got 35 interviews for people to look at. We've also, this was some feedback that we got from careers advisors, from your colleagues, that it was really good to make the content relevant to particular subject areas. So there are here on art and design, we've got 24 interviews. On English, we've got 21 interviews just here. So we can make it really relevant and make careers part of a curriculum program. Okay, just go back to the presentation. There we go. So I'm just going to show you an example interview, and I hope the sound works. We did test it. This is a really nice guy. Keith Underwood volunteered. He's the CEO of Guardian Media Group. Now, not everyone that we interview is a CEO, but I think we thought, Steve, that Keith would be warmly received by your cohort. The Guardian's really interested in careers, and I'm sure you're all aware of the great resource that they offer to readers.
Hi, Paul. Good to be here. As you say, my name's Keith Underwood. I'm the interim CEO and COO of the Guardian Media.
Tom, I think you might need to reshare screen and press sound. I don't think it's quite pulled through this time. If you unshare, reshare, and click sound, I'm sure it'll work a little bit better.
Stop share.
Then tick the share with sound and then reshare. Hopefully it'll work. If not, I can run it as a backup if it doesn't work.
No, I think I've got it.
Hi, Paul. It's good to be here. As you say, my name's Keith Underwood. I'm the interim CEO and COO of the Guardian Media Group.
Fantastic. And so what do you like about your work?
Well, for me, it's about being part of a team, working with great people to provide services, to provide products that make a tangible, positive impact on people's lives. That's what it's about for me. It's about, as I say, working together with like-minded, really bright people to sort of come together, the camaraderie to solve problems, to learn, and to really, when you get it right, celebrate successes. I think that for me makes work far more than just a task. It makes it a really enjoyable experience.
Fantastic. And the second question I've got for you is, how did you start out?
Well, look, I graduated in economics, and from that point in time, I went on and joined a professional services firm, qualified in accountancy, and then went on to do management consultancy before my career really started in media when I joined Sky, the television company. And then from then on, I sort of got the bug for working in media companies and went to work at Discovery, the international American media group. It's now merged with Warner's. and then went into Channel 4. And then 3 years ago, I joined The Guardian.
Fantastic. And the last question I've got for you today is, what would you say to someone starting out today?
Well, look, for me, I think it's about, and this is what I've personally done, is just be open-minded about opportunities as they arise. Don't be too narrow in terms of how you think your career will develop. Seize those available opportunities and really do commit to them. Try and give them your all, because actually so much new positive experiences come out of things when you just take on unexpected challenges. And I think that's really important for people to do.
Well, I'm going to stop it there. But hopefully, you know, that gives you a bit of a taste of what the interviews are like. And, you know, that chap there, you know, people get, you know, entering a career in accountancy might all too often feel that they're going to spend a lifetime working with numbers and spreadsheets, and wouldn't have thought that a leadership role in one of the country's biggest newspapers would be a natural fit. But goes to show, accountants get everywhere.
But as Tom said before, you know, it's not a channel full of CEOs. So we've got apprentices. We've got people who are working in construction, offshore wind power generation. The idea is to give, as Steve and Tom were saying, it's to give a contact and connection point where that might not exist in, you know, whether it's a student's social or family or other, you know, other network environments. And with Gatsby 5 and 6, of course, the emphasis is on those encounters being, you know, face-to-face, real life, real world. But what we think we can often do, particularly for schools with the alumni, which is, you know, so former students representing what they're doing, whatever that might be, it's kind of a gateway towards the face-to-face and the real world, because this is how you hear from or see the face of somebody who's working in an industry that you may never have thought of working in before.
Just to finish off, then we launched a website just after Christmas, peopleonwork.com. There's a link through to the YouTube channel. There are obviously all our contact details. There's a special schools page, and on there you'll see there's a pro forma text for you to reach out to alumni. There's a worksheet you can download as well for use in class. And we'd love to have some feedback as well. As I said, the website's pretty new, so if you've got any recommendations or tips for us, we'd warmly receive them. Yeah,
and really, you know, what we're looking for today, you know, coming and joining you today is to really engage with careers leaders who are looking to build this kind of resource for their school, for your school. Because we feel we can really help you that at an individual level, help you, you know, connect with the alumni. We can help you get the first few videos off the ground, help you with interviewing, with filming, and you know there's you know no charge for that whatsoever, because you know, and the vision is in time for each school, you know, particularly each Hertfordshire school, to have, you know, 20, 30, 40 videos featuring alumni who've gone out into the world of work, and then who can be speaking directly again to their, you know, the students that you have in school now, with that thing that they'll always have in common as, you know, as current and former students of the school.
That's brilliant, guys. Really enjoyed your presentation. Thanks for sharing the information in the chat. The slides will be going out and the recording to all Hertfordshire schools. So I'm sure a few people will be in touch, sort of from an employer's side and from a school alumni side. But like you say, I just love the personal way that this could be an apprentice that's left last year versus a chief exec that's left 20 years ago. It still really inspires and is really personable, and great that it links into the school or college that they went to. So thank you very much, guys. If you've got any questions for Paul and Tom, please feel free to direct message them in the chat or send them an email. And David, if I could ask you to share your screen and come off mute. And thanks again to Tom and Paul. See you both soon.
Thanks, Steve.
So I'm going to hand over to David here from Services for Young People. If you're thinking about how could you activate some of the things you've seen today, Services for Young People are available to help support with a lot of the activities that have been mentioned today. Thanks for joining us, David, and over to you.
Thank you, Steve. Good afternoon, everybody. Some familiar faces that I have recognised and some that I haven't, so nice to meet everybody. As Steve says, I'm David Hoskins. I'm an Employment and Skills Coordinator. I look after Broxbourne, East Herts and Welling Hatfield areas for work experience and work-related learning events, which is covered by the Gatsby Benchmarks 5 and 6. So it made logical sense for one of my equivalents, an ESCO. I see that Jackie's here as well, one of the other ESCOs. So just to fill you in about what Benchmark 5 is and how Services for Young People can help you. So Gatsby Benchmark 5, you can all read. I'm not going to read that to you. How we cover Gatsby Benchmark 5 is in 2 ways. So we can offer a careers carousel, very similar to a careers fair, but a bit more structured. And the focus on that is that by liaising with the schools, we talk to them about what sectors that they would like us to try and source employers in, and also include the school as well. That's very important. There are some of their governors who may have a business that they want to promote as well to the school, and it also gives them that opportunity to do hands-on with the students. Very, very useful day or a morning. We've had so many young people who hadn't considered a sector or a particular career, and after speaking to the employers, they actually then go on and pursue that career. The other elements of Gatsby Benchmark 5 are the mock interviews. Sarah, who was here, has helped me out at Herts and Essex School, for example, on more than one occasion. And normally we do this in year 10, and we normally try and link it in to just before they go out onto their work experience program. With the main reason for that is that these young people on the whole have not had any type of interview with a business professional at all. So to make that less daunting when they do their work experience, it gives them an understanding of that it's not as bad as it is. It's not all The Apprentice or anything else like that. And again, you know, one of the things about the schools is it's all about the impact as well. So, you know, so I work very closely with the schools to understand what element they want to gain out of it, what impact they want to make with their young people. And then, so Gatsby Benchmark 6, as you know, we've already discussed already with Norma, etc., about the work experience and virtual work experience. Work experience has been particularly difficult this year with the lockdown. We have had a significant number of employers that have only just started to go back from Easter onwards. To put it in perspective, in this term, I'm alone and sending out almost 1,700 students, which is a huge number. So we've had to call upon own placements from family and friends, etc., just to make sure that every young person goes out. One thing is, for example, I'm at Hertfordshire County Council. I'm not back in the office on a full-time basis, and the same would apply to many companies around not only in Hertfordshire but around the country, because we do get some young people who do go out of county for their work experience. So again, it's all about pursuing that opportunity. What I would say is that there is no such thing as a bad work experience, in about the fact that, you know, some young people think, oh, I can only get a school placement, you know, and they want to do finance or something thing to remember about all of these businesses, they don't just have one string to their bow. So in many schools there is a bursar, etc., facilities manager and things like that. So if you're a young person who's interested in that sort of thing, then that's something to consider as well. What I would say as well is that the schools are almost, and we're almost considering about the hybrid model. Perhaps, you know, perhaps the week work experience might not happen again as it did historically. What might happen is that it might be spread out over 2 weeks, and it might be 3 days 1 week and 2 days the following week. But again, what we do is that we'll be liaising with the schools to make sure that what we do is correct, and what is going to impact their young people as well. Thank you, Steve. I think that was it. Has anybody got any questions, or are we not doing questions, Steve?
Feel free to if anyone has any questions, or David, if you wouldn't mind popping your email in the chat, if that's okay.
Yeah, of course.
That would be great. Really, really, really appreciative to all of our guest speakers today, and thank you very much, David. We're now going to shift gear into hearing from some careers leaders. So Colleen, I'm going to hand over to you to talk a little bit about how you've worked in partnership with David around work experience, and then other things as well around work experience, extended work experience, and Gatsby Benchmark 5 as well. So over to you, Colleen, and thanks again, David.
Hello everyone. I haven't got any slides, it's just me you're looking at. I'm going to talk about Gatsby Benchmark 6 first, so about our work experience and how we do that. So we are small, we're a pupil referral unit, so we don't have as many pupils, but all our pupils do work experience in year 10, 11, and we send them all out at the same time. So we choose our work experience block week for March because less schools go out, so then we have more employers to choose from. That tends to work, and we've done that for years now. We do Prince's Trust Achieve qualification and City and Guilds Employability qualification, and from that the pupils do units of work experience. So they are preparing before they go out, doing the work experience and then doing the evaluation. So they get something from it as well. We work it that that every pupil is linked with a teacher. So they sort of have a mentor, and that teacher will help them arrange the interview, go with the interview with them. This year, all of our pupils went for interviews before they went on their work experience. And this year was the most successful year. The only year we haven't done work experience was last year, just because of COVID, because we couldn't do it. But the year before we still did it because we failed just before COVID, luckily. And this year it was more successful than ever, to be honest. And I think that was because we spoke to the employers, they had a contact name, we took them all to interviews, and I sort of run it as, so work experience is, it's not a given that just because they've had an interview with the employer that they're going to have it. It has to be like, if it works. So if they feel that it's going to work for the interview. So if they feel that they want to come out and say no, then that's sort of how we do it. But we don't tend to have that. So they all do their week block, year 10 and 11, all go out at the same time in March. This year it was 100% successful. We had one person who had 1 day off sick just because of nerves. And then I think 2 of them, it was just because the employer, there wasn't work. Apart from that, it all worked and it was really successful. We also do extended work experience. So every pupil has the opportunity either to do 1, 2 or 3 days a week, depending on what subjects they're doing at school. So if we've had them for the most of year 10 and they've done their GCSEs, then they might do more at work experience if they want to. But we sort of do it as and when, really. We just, that's what the pupils want, that's what we do. And we work closely with Services for Young People, with David and Nadia, to find employers. We also find our own, so from parents as well. So it's a bit of a mix, and it works really well. We still did extended work experience in COVID times. And I think I still had about 5 pupils going out because we had, there was one girl we couldn't because it was hairdressing, but the rest of them were doing construction outside type work. So just spoke to the employers, they were happy, parents were happy, so it just still carried on, to be honest. And then they still got their unit through the Prince's Trust and the City and Guilds employability. And then what we do from that is every pupil sends out a thank you card after their work experience to the employer, and then we also send out a personal thank you letter, which we seem to have quite good feedback from. So because we have a lesson a week with them for their employability and Prince's Trust, then we just get them to do that as soon as they come back when they're doing their evaluations. And we've had sort of good feedback, and employers tend to remember us then, and then we can use them the next year. And we've never had too many horror stories, so we David, so it's all gone okay. So that's our work experience. And then our Gatsby 5 employer engagement, we work with Volker Vessels and MCP, and they are our EAs, and we do a careers sort of speed dating carousel, we call it. So we've done it for the last 3 years now. So the first year we went to Volker, took all our pupils, and they are usually in groups of 3 or 4, and they move around 6, so either Volker Vessels or MCP, and they speak to different people doing those job roles. They have a list of questions that they ask, and then the employers interview them, they interview the employers. And then there's usually a networking lunch where they can talk to people. We do that just before, usually about 3 or 4 weeks before our work experience, because for that, any that haven't got work experience, they might be able to get that opportunity to get that, but also it just increases their confidence when it comes to the work experience with going before that interviews. And we did it last year still in COVID, and we did it virtually, and that worked really well actually. So we just had 6 classrooms set up, pupils sat in, there was groups of pupils in their classrooms, and then someone very clever and techie just had the employers moving around. So we still managed to do it, and that worked really well. And I think that's about it. I don't think I've got anything else. Has anyone got any questions on any of that?
Colleen, I just posted in chat about the fact that you have a significant percentage of your students who do the extended go on to apprenticeships, which is fantastic.
Because we do build quite good relationships. And so when it comes to our extended, actually, we, me or one of my colleagues in the office, we phone every week because we do that for safeguarding to check that they're in, but also just like, is everything going okay? We do a review every 4 weeks and then half-termly. So we are always in contact with the employers. So if there's anything going wrong, we sort of know straight away, and employers just feel that they can speak to us if there is anything going wrong, which there's usually not, to be fair. And it might, especially with extended, it might just be about not attending, but we're sort of on that straight away. And then it does lead to apprenticeships because they've built up that relationship. So sometimes for pupils from our school, because it might be, they're attending a pupil referral unit, so they might not look as good on paper, like on their CV, just that meeting employers then seeing, oh, well, they've got really good practical skills and all the skills that they've got and the qualifications, it just works really well. And work experience, I think we've been doing it 10 plus years now, and it just gets better every year, to be honest, just with more experience and more employers on board. Okay. Is that all right, Steve?
That's brilliant, Colleen. A really, really nice picture painted on how you work closely with David, how the work experience has gone really well, how it has an impact on the students, and many of them go on to extended work experience or apprenticeships, and also how your enterprise advisors help bring down the anxiety before they go out on work experience to make it meaningful and to prepare them. So that's brilliant. If anyone has any other questions, feel free to come off your microphone or pop one in the chat. Or direct message David or Colleen in the chat. But thank you very much, Colleen. Really enjoyed that. And I know that Jill Blair Park is coming on from Leaventhorpe, but she's juggling various things at school. So if you're there, Jill, please feel free to turn your camera on and come off mute. And Sarah, I know you're going to support her as her enterprise advisor. If you don't mind coming off mute as well. Over to Jill if she's here yet, and Sarah. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Yes, busy afternoon, but yeah, thank you for inviting me along to speak. So our Year 12 Careers Work Experience Week was slightly different from any other year with work experience because obviously due to the pandemic, lots of businesses was unable to take students into the workplace, and we felt that we didn't feel comfortable with students sort of doing the working from home. So we said that if they could try and find work experience and try and approach 2 or 3 different companies, and those that were successful did go out on placement. But we offered an alternative, which I had this idea about, actually, why don't we do like a work experience project in school for the 5 days? And so I put my idea to my EA, who is Sarah, is fantastic. And we put our heads together and thought, how can we do this to run a project where the students will get as much work experience or business encounters as possible over the week? So the first thing that we did was got together, thought of an idea and come up with a business, a dummy business that we put together, and we named it a boiler company. So from that, we worked on how we could do it. So we linked with Price Bailey, who put some dummy accounts together for this business. We invited them to come in and talk on the Monday about accountancy and then what spreadsheets look like and how you work with accounts. We also then had looked at recruitment from a HR point of view, interviewing skills. We also had like the legal requirements. We had a lawyer in to talk about actually businesses and how they have a legal requirement. And then we ran this for the first, so Monday, Tuesday, and had these speakers in, and then they had a question and answer. They ran an activity which the students had to engage in to put their part through to the company. Within their groups they worked with, they sort of selected someone to be their project manager, someone to be their HR manager, and they all took on a different role. And they just embraced themselves into this activity really from day one. On the Wednesday, we went up to Western Homes, which is a property development company based not that far away from where we are in Bishop Stortford. And they were fantastic. And we did a sales and marketing activity with them up there. And the sales team did a presentation. The students were really engaged in it. And they had to design the front cover of a brochure of their new development. We linked that to then their boiler company that they'd renamed by this point, how we market, what the importance of social media, where they advertise, how important the boards are outside, and how this worked with their business. And then on the Thursday, I invited in our governors and some of our staff from school and some external visitors to run a panel of interviewing. But instead of these professions interviewing our students, we turned it around and the students interviewed them, because they'd already looked at a job that someone that they'd want to recruit. We gave them a money allowance of how much they had to recruit somebody, and they had to put this job description together, and then they recruited on the Thursday. And it was such a fantastic event because the students just really got into it. The questions and everything was really, really fantastic. And then on the Friday, and at the end of this session on the Thursday, we did they said who they would recruit from their governor panel. And then on the Thursday afternoon, we did have a live virtual work experience that they did log on to. And then on the Friday, they had to then promote their business. We invited all staff and the visitors and the governors in to see how they could, if they would buy the boiler, and they had to display on their boiler company the legal side of things, the people they'd recruited, how much they'd spent, their expenditure that they'd done with their accounts with Price Bailey. Over the week, they had work experience or business encounter with at least 10 different careers. And it was a really powerful week. And actually, these students that came along to this week was like, well, it's just because I haven't got work experience. But actually, they felt that they got so much more out of being involved with these different businesses over the 5 days than what they would have done if they'd gone into another type of work experience. So it really was a successful. there was a lot of work involved, but working together with Sarah just really brought the partnership together, and it was really good. Is there anything you want to say on that, Sarah?
I think I just would like to add that from my perspective as an employer, and I've worked in lots of different industries over my working life, but during the pandemic, I was working for Tees Law, who are a time recording company and who actually find work experience to be quite tricky, not in having the students in, but actually in making it meaningful. And I think one of the things that Jill and I were really conscious of is that we wanted the students to do something that was meaningful. They hadn't done anything for 2 years. We also wanted them to do something that would look really good on their personal statement or their CV, because again, they haven't had the opportunities to go out into the working world and get these opportunities and get the experience that they would normally get. And we wanted them to get exposure, as Jill said, to as many people as possible. And I think that we wrote a project brief of the business, so we gave some background of the business. And what was really good was that the other employers and guests that came into the week all understood that brief and either built on that. So for example, the lawyer spoke about the warranty because the boiler had a warranty, and the HR lady, she spoke about the sort of roles that we would be recruiting in that sort of industry and some of the questions we would ask, and I think that they really understood it and brought it together. Obviously the accounts were for a firm that was the right size, the right turnover, and the business students that were doing a finance module, actually some of the business students actually had a finance exam on the Monday morning, didn't they, Jill? And they really understood the nitty-gritty of it, so that was really good. I think the rebranding, obviously when we didn't have guest speakers in, there were tasks that we assigned them, that Jill and I assigned them, and one of those things was rebranding, and they created a logo. We also had them actually build a boiler from cardboard, and they had to decorate that. And then the exhibition, which was on the Friday, what we did was we gave the visitors a spend, and they had to spend that money with a particular boiler company. And I think there was probably 6 or 7 boiler companies, Jill, is that right?
Yeah, we had 7, one folded on day one.
Yeah. So I think that then they went round and they spent their money, which meant that the students actually won a prize if they sold, the company that sold the most boilers had a prize. And watching these students, as Helen said earlier, watching the students develop from the Monday to the Friday. I mean, Jill did actually go over with them the things that they would learn at the beginning of the week, but watching them actually get those skills, develop and run with them. And Jill will also tell you that some of the students have been, they've had their eyes opened and actually now have decided they want to go into HR, or they want to be a project manager, or what have you, depending on what they've learned. I think that was really, really good. The consistency throughout the week of having the boiler company it worked so well. And actually the reason we chose the boiler company, which might sound a bit weird, is because we'd done I can't remember what session we'd done, if it was a presentation on something, wasn't it, Jill, with the year 13s the month before, and we'd done, it was an assessment centre, and we'd done a presentation question which was around green cars, electric cars, and actually the knowledge, a lot of the students had a lot of knowledge on electric cars, and a lot of the students had no knowledge on electric cars. And we kind of thought boilers would level the playing field. No, none of them would really know anything about boilers, which was what we wanted. We wanted them to all go in equally with being on the same page, and that worked really well, didn't it, Jill?
I think just having the people in, the external people in to do the run the sessions, and then we set the activity at the end. So the presenter might have done half an hour, then set their activity, and they had deadlines to meet. And it wasn't till the Thursday so each morning, as Sarah said, I sort of briefed them, this is what we're going to be covering today, this is what we're going to be covering. It wasn't till the end of the session on the sort of after on the Thursday, we said, right, actually, this is what you should have completed now. You should have your recruitment post. You should have had your accounts drawn up. You should, and that the whole team worked together, and it was, yeah, really, really powerful of how they all just come together. And they didn't work with their friends. So what we did was say, if you think, you know, you're a designer or you're doing art, you know, it's one of those in each group. We had, you know, those that were doing business worked out, you know, they might have had 2 or 3 of those in each group, but they all, by the end of the week or by that Thursday, had found their role in their job, in their company. And it was very, very powerful. And the external people that came in identified their skills, as well as Sarah and I. For example, the student that, you know, her interviewing skills was fantastic. She went off and from that spent a week with one of the companies that I work with to work in HR, and that's where she wants to go now. So it really did open up their eyes to different careers. Speakers and the professions that come in were very, very good, and I think that is one thing you have to work with people to make sure that you've got the right, that everyone's working for the same thing. And they had the blurb on the boiler company, they had the account, so everyone was working well together.
I'd just like to say a great big thank you to Jill and Sarah. That was absolutely amazing. Such an innovative approach to things. And if anyone wants to get in touch, either on direct messaging with Jill or Sarah, but massive thank you, guys. Conscious of time, so sorry Jill and sorry Sarah, but thank you ever so much for everything you've said. It's been really enthusiastic and really great to hear that approach. So just gonna round off here before we say goodbye to everybody and have a good summer. So from moving forward, any employers engaging with schools, we're looking for you to sort of inspire them to find their next best step and help prepare them to be career ready. We've heard some great examples today from lots of different organisations and companies around how they do that and how they do make it meaningful and how they engage over the longer term and how it does inspire the students to aspire. So in September, those of you that are from companies, we will be seeing if around 50 to 100 of you can fill in the employer standards to see where you are on the framework, and we can help you to sort of complete those. We've got a HOP social media competition for schools with sixth forms, which will be going live in September and run through till the end of November with judging in December, where you could win your school £1,500 if someone from your school wins, and the students involved can win a voucher or some money for taking part. That will be framed around promoting HOP through TikTok or Instagram Reels. So we will send more information out about that competition. HOP have also got a small bit of funding to help up to 15 schools with apprenticeship workshops and also around employability and LinkedIn profiles. And we're releasing some new resources from September through to National Apprenticeships Week and National Careers Week. So the HOP lesson plans will be updated. There's going to be some more HOP into growth sector videos, and the LMI video and the LMI posters are also going to be sort of post-COVID, post-Brexit updated as well. So if you haven't already, please do sign up to the HOP newsletter to make sure you don't miss any of the things that I've just mentioned. This is an example of what the workshops are going to look like around the apprenticeships and employability, and get in contact with Claire Scarisbrick if you're interested in being one of the schools to be involved in that. Everything you've seen today will be shared on HOP on the Gatsby Benchmark section next week. Please do click through and have a look there. If you've got any resources that you're happy to share, either you're an employer and you want to get them out to more people, or if you're a careers leader and you're happy to share them with other careers leaders, please do send us through resources for any of the Gatsby benchmarks. We'll be running, for any new careers leaders on the call, an induction on the 6th of July, and ask your enterprise coordinator for a link to that if you haven't already got it. And any new enterprise advisors, we're running a new enterprise advisor induction on the 7th of September. So it'd be great to see some of your new faces there. Last week was National Volunteers Week. So this is a great opportunity just to say thank you to everyone that does volunteer and get involved in this programme. We couldn't do this without you. We've heard from some great organisations today. Again, just a big thank you to them, but also to everyone else on the call that's helped us this academic year. So That was a great workshop, really buzzing to hear from everybody. We'll send everything through early next week. Thank you for all your help. And Shay, if you don't mind stopping the recording, you're all free to go, but a couple of us will hang around if you've got any questions at the end. Thanks, guys, and have a good summer.